But if you're like me, a conflict avoider, and I know there are many of you in this room, or even if you're not a conflict avoider, but we can still all have fears about having that conversation. And often the fear over that conversation that you think you need to have with your husband or boyfriend keeps you from having the conversation. Boy, howdy do I know about that one, because I would just like to be the avoider. Well, that doesn't work so well. So let's talk about 4 common fears that can keep you from having the conversation that you need to have with your husband or boyfriend. And the first common problem is low self-worth. Low self-worth. A couple of verses, some might be familiar, but Psalm 139, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful." I know that full well. So we contemplate on what God says about us, that He made me the way I am on purpose, which sometimes I wonder what He was thinking. But anyway, I'll find out when I get to heaven someday why He did that. But His works are wonderful. He created me this way. I'm not a mistake. I am not a mistake. Some of you needed to hear that tonight. You are not a mistake. God created you perfectly. Zephaniah 3:17, some of you might have memorized this by now because this is like my favorite verse. This is like my go-to verse when I just need to know that I am valued, that I am precious, and that I am His beloved. It's Zephaniah 3:17. "The Lord is with you. He is mighty to save. He will take great delight in you. He will quiet you with His love. He will rejoice over you with singing." What about the fear that He will leave you or your lifestyle will change and you just won't be able to handle it? Isn't this one of the most paralyzing fears ever? Honestly. And it could be that you're not going to be able to handle it emotionally, or you're not going to be able to handle the changes that might happen. Like, what if you put up this boundary? What if you say, you cannot drive home drunk anymore? What if you say, I cannot have you looking at pornography anymore? It's not okay. What if you say, I will not allow you to verbally abuse me anymore? What if he says, well, tough, what are you going to do? What if you draw a serious boundary and then he leaves you? It's a paralyzing, or it can be a paralyzing kind of fear, right? But here's what I know. If you're looking for your security in your husband, if you're putting all your eggs in that basket, that he is your total security, that is a very precarious place to be. You can't put all your eggs in that basket. Your husband cannot be your source of security. Your husband cannot be your everything. Because number one, he's human, so he can fail you, he can leave you, and then what are you going to do if you put all your eggs in that basket? Two, he could drop over dead tomorrow for all you, we don't know. It's like, we don't know. He's not a reliable source of security, is he? That's why we don't put all of our security, all of our everything, all of our hopes and dreams into this one person, this husband. All of our security comes from Christ, right? This is the only person you can count on always to never change. Don't you love that? To never change. That he will never leave you nor forsake you. So that's where our security comes from. So bottom line, don't live in fear that your husband may leave you if you confront disrespectful behavior. You will survive if you are plugged into Jesus. Because he can take care of you. He will still be there. He is smart enough that he can provide you financially. He can bring about circumstances that can enable you to keep on going. He can surround you with godly counsel. He can do all of those things. God is the one that you can count on. God is the one that you can trust to take care of you. I also know that some of you fear drawing serious boundaries because if you separate, if he gets upset and divorces you again, your lifestyle will change. You might have to move. You might have to get a job. Maybe you have your kids, in this school district, you're going to have to move to that school district because you have to move with your parents. We come up with all these scenarios like, what if I draw this boundary? What if everything changes? Well, it very well may. I'm sorry to say. It very well may change a lot of things. But what is the alternative? What is the alternative? That's what I'm here to say. What is the alternative? Because again, God is going to be with you and He's got you. Even if lifestyle things change, even if you have to move, even if you have to sell a house, whatever. If it comes to that, like if you were to draw some serious boundaries and your husband didn't respect it, God's got you. But your alternative, if you don't draw the boundaries, if you don't get serious about this, what does that alternative look like? Do you really want to stay living with this addiction? Because likely it's not going to change if you don't take action. So do you want to keep living with this addiction year after year after year? And your children are being impacted by this because they're watching you. Your daughters are watching how you're handling this, right? Are they learning, well, we don't confront. We just kind of bury our head in the sand and we just get kind of beaten down by all this, and a wife is just supposed to just kind of be a doormat and just wring her hands in despair. That's what you're teaching your daughters if you don't do anything, right? What are you teaching your sons? Oh, this is how you treat women. You just do whatever you want, and they shouldn't ever say anything. You just do whatever you want. That's how life works. We don't want to teach either one of those lessons to our sons or daughters, do we? Yeah. Okay, third problem is the fear of tension in the household if you confront. And what happens, and I know this because in my first marriage that was my mode of operating, so I can say from experience that is not a good strategy, because when you don't confront, you grow resentful, don't you? I mean, it just like automatically you grow resentful. And I remember just growing so resentful that I was like, I just can't even stand the sight of you anymore. I was like, okay, this is not good for a marriage to continue when you grow that resentful. In fact, Hebrews 12:15 says, let no bitter root grow up among you to cause trouble and defile many. So wouldn't it be better, even if he does have not such a great response, wouldn't it be better to endure a little bit of tension than to have this mounting resentment that ultimately completely demolishes your marriage? When I think of it that way, that helps me finally get the courage to say, maybe I should talk to Raul about this little thing. Yeah. Okay, number 4. The fear that your husband won't feel loved if you confront him about his addiction. I've had a couple women talk to me and say this was their thing, is that they just, they love him and they don't want him to get upset and they don't want him to feel hurt that you're bringing up this problem. And okay, I can respect that. That sounds really great. And it's great for you to want your husband to feel loved. But if you refuse to confront the behavior, and especially if you keep bailing him out of the consequences, you're not really loving him. You're enabling him to stay stuck in a very dysfunctional pattern of behavior that's not God's plan for him, that's usually not healthy for him, and not healthy for your marriage. You're actually enabling him to stay stuck. You're kind of an accomplice of Satan at that point. That might sound a little strong, but you're really kind of conspiring with the enemy, saying, yep, I'm going to just enable him to stay stuck here because I love him so much and I don't want him to be hurt. We often do this. Moms are famous for this with their kids, right? But I love them so much, I don't want them to experience any pain. And so you bail them out of consequences and things like that. And it's a heart of love, but is it really helpful for the child to grow up and mature and develop character? Not at all, right? Well, kind of the same thing with our husbands, right? And maybe God's trying to get your husband's attention. Have we ever thought of that? Like maybe God has great plans for your husband to be a mighty man of God. And he can't seem to get there because you keep on getting in the way, because you keep on enabling your husband to stay stuck in dysfunction. Could that even be?